Right, let's have a look at using Google Comments in action. So this is a live piece of work I've got on the screen. I was actually out of school this morning, and because of that, I left some cover work for my Year 10 computer science class. And they were learning about virtual memory and doing a little bit of a recap around secondary storage. So this is the work that I left them. Obviously left them instructions and then set this on Google Classroom as a template, makes a copy for each of the students. They then go and fill that in. So what I'm going to do now is have a look through this and just see how they've done, and I'm going to use the comments feature to give them feedback. Now, it might sound pretty simple using the comments, but bear with me and watch a bit further on, because some of the ways that I'm planning to use the comments might be a bit different to some of the things that you've seen them used before. Some will be the same as well, obviously. So I've got Alfie's work on here, which he's had a good go at by the looks of it. So this first thing here was basically the bell work. It was a do now activity, recapping on some of the work that they've done in the past. So I'm not going to comment on absolutely everything. If it's right, what I tend to do is I just put a little green comment in saying something like, great, good answer. And then I tend to just copy that so I can paste it elsewhere just for speed where things are right. So I'll just fill in those ones. Now, when I get to this one, it's not quite right. So I'm going to put my green comment in just to, stick with school protocols and use the same as people's getting their books. But I'm also going to use the comment, which you'll see in a second. So I'm going to put good start, good answer. And then in the pink, for think, comment, and see if you can improve. And then in here, I'm going to highlight the bit that's wrong. So it loses all data when it's turned off, which is actually partially right. And I'm going to put in here, this is partially correct. Does every type of primary storage lose data when switched off? Because it doesn't. Some do, some don't. And then what I'm going to add underneath is, why not speak to Beth Graham, who's also in that class, who has a slightly different answer to you. And I'm going to assign that to Beth so that those two students can pair up when I give them some direct response time next lesson, and they can have a little conversation, compare answers, and I can guarantee between them they will work out which bit of that is wrong and why, and they'll be able to sort that out. Now, Alfie's going to remember that far better than me just giving them the answer in here or sending them away to look at it. And it's really utilising the Google tools to get students collaborating with each other, build up that culture that I want in the class of students actually helping each other out, supporting each other, and things like that. So I'm going to assign that now. Like I say, this is live work, so they'll actually be doing this next lesson. It says that Beth doesn't have permission to comment. Now, she might actually want to make a comment on this, so I have the power to do that, and Beth can now comment on this piece of work that Alfie's done. And then I would go through, I'm not going to do it in this video, obviously for time's sake, I would go through, look at the rest, continue doing the same, get to the next bit, and I would be doing actually exactly the same process here. I might pick a different student, but if you look at this diagram that Alfie's created there, this is a pretty good start at the diagram. If I look at Beth's here, which I've already had a little scan at, you can see this is just that little bit more detailed and it's better labelled. So I would be saying something here about Alfie's labelling of his diagram and using the comment again to put them in contact with a different student who's perhaps done it in a different way, to get those students looking at each other's work. Now, my hope with that is it's going to deepen the learning that's taking place through that collaboration. We know that that's high impact. We know that students remember it better when they're working with others to solve problems and correct things than when you just give them straight feedback. Now, one final thing I'm going to just mention is, now that I've given that to Alfie, what I'm going to train my students to do, and some of them do this automatically, it's pretty self-explanatory, he will see that comment and he has the option to resolve that when he's fixed it. So once he's fixed that answer, not only is he going to write his new improved answer there and highlight it in yellow to meet with the school feedback rules, but he's also going to tick the resolve button. I will see in my emails, it'll come up with a quick email just saying Alfie has resolved a comment. I know that he's dealt with it, or he thinks he's dealt with it, and I can go back and check. The other thing that might happen is if he doesn't understand this, let's just say that I hadn't included Beth in the answer and I'd just given him a little bit of feedback, and Alfie wasn't sure about what I'd said, or he needed more help with it or something like that, he can reply to my comment. So he might ask a clarifying question, and I try to encourage students to do that. So, if you don't understand the feedback I've given you, reply, ask me a question, make sure that I give you it. They can do that in the lesson as well, obviously, face to face. But what if they're trying to complete the work and they're not in the lesson? It's a way they can do it and deal with it before then. What if I'm too busy in the lesson because there's 30 students in the class and I don't quite have time to get round everybody within the 10 minutes time that I've given them? So it's another way of better using time and better interacting with students. And actually the research around this shows that when students use Google Docs specifically with this kind of feedback and ongoing dialogue between teacher and student, that understanding is deepened and students do get better results and perform better when they have to write and answer extended exam questions. So this is something that can really benefit your students. I'll leave it there because I'm starting to witter on, but you get the idea.